Welcome to another reading from the Science of Mind Daily Guides. Just a quick word before we begin. It's Valentine's Day, so I wish all of you a very happy Valentine's Day. I hope if you have a partner that you are each able to show your love for the other and do something a little special. What did I do? Well, instead of buying a card, I wrote a poem and I gave it to my wife this morning. And she thought that was much better than a card. So if you still haven't done it, well, you still have time, depending what time zone you're in. It is now 18:11 or 6:11 p.m. if you prefer, in Central Time Zone. So if you are somewhere where it's still Valentine's Day and you've not done anything yet, well, get out there and do something. But don't spend a fortune on it. Right? Well, my wife is, let's say she's a cheapskate. Today's title, getting back to our subject, continuing on with our theme for the month of African American or Black History Month, whichever term you prefer to use. The title today is Awareness Can Be Curative. Awareness can be curative. Who talks about freedom and equality? Is it not those who hold a Bill of Rights in one hand and a whip for affrighted slaves in the other? And that was Alexander Hamilton. And I'm sure you all know who Alexander Hamilton is, especially with the play, the musical in his name. Ernest Holmes says, as the inner light dawns, it delivers the outer life from bondage. When the soul knows freedom, the law will free the body. So in other words, it's moving on from the same expressions that Jesus used when he said, it is done unto you as you believe. It is done unto you as you believe. And that's from the Science of Mind textbook, the main work of Ernest Holmes, and it's on page 485. He wrote lots and lots of stuff, but the Science of Mind textbook is the one that is our kind of our standard that we use. This opened my eyes a little bit. I didn't know this bit about history, so I'm really quite pleased it was brought to my attention. From 1790 until 1797, 7 years that is, President George Washington resided in the temporary seat of the nation's capital, Philadelphia. Pennsylvania law required enslaved people be set free after 6 months of residency in the state. Rather than comply, Washington circumvented the law. Every 6 months, he sent his slaves down south, just as the clock was about to expire. Ona Judge was one of his slaves. Born at Mount Vernon around 1774, when the opportunity presented itself, she escaped during dinner service on May 21st, 1796. So she'd be, what, 22 years old then, roughly. Many were incredulous that she could and would leave the Washington's enslavement. Judge became the subject of an intense manhunt run by President Washington, who used his political and personal contacts to recapture her. Although encultured to obey whites, Judge stood her ground when pressured to return to slavery. She said she looked Washington's agent straight in the eyes, her response finally courageous, and said, I am free now and choose to remain so. Washington was a powerful man, yet she stood up to his agent on her newfound ground, rejecting his demands and the legal system of slavery. Harriet Tubman, who I'm sure you've all heard of, said, I could have freed more people if only they had known they were enslaved. While Judge knew she had been enslaved, and she knew she wanted more, she demonstrated faith, wisdom, and determination. She clearly read the writing on the wall, realizing if she stayed, she could be forever enslaved. She chose freedom. Onajid Stens died on February 25th, 1848, in Greenland, New Hampshire, a free woman. Wow. You know what I like about Reverend Andriette's writings is that she brings to our attention things that I didn't know. Maybe I didn't know it because I was born outside of the US and I grew up outside of the US. Maybe people here in the US don't know it because it's deliberately kept from them, which is really not a good thing, because every time you try to cover something up, guess what happens? It comes out. It has to do. Eventually, it will all come out. So I'm grateful to Reverend Andrea for pointing out things that a lot of people didn't know, a lot of people don't know. And even some stuff that we do know, like for instance about Harriet Tubman. But I'm pleased that she talks about people of courage. And there are people of courage, of course, in every situation. You know, I don't know how much Alexander Hamilton suffered for speaking out. And I think he sets a great example for the rest of us. And it's not just about enslavement, but about lots of things. He says, who talks about freedom and equality? Is it not those who hold a Bill of Rights in one hand and a whip for affrighted slaves in the other? You know, it's okay to talk a good talk, and it's okay to speak good things, but the bottom line is you've really got to live up to it. You know, I mean, you've got to live up to what you say that you will do. And I think Alexander Hamilton, just like Eleanor Roosevelt from yesterday, are great examples of how we should think. You are free to agree or disagree with me, but that's what I think. We need to stand up and be counted. The affirmation applies to all of us. I claim freedom and clear vision. I claim freedom and clear vision. I don't really have a lot more to say except just tune in for the rest of the month and let's see what Reverend Andrea's got to offer us further, because we're about halfway through the month now. Not quite, because it's a leap year. And I'm going to sign off in the next minute or two. Why? One reason I don't have a lot of comments on her readings, because I think they speak for themselves. But the second is, I've been teaching a class on world religions for 2 hours this afternoon, and I'm still a bit hoarse, actually. So I think I need to go get some water. But once again, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. And if you need any more information from us, it's easy. You just send an email to info@creativelife.org. info@creativelife.org. And as I mentioned before, I'm David. I'm one of the ministers there, and I'm only too pleased to be able to bring you every day readings from the daily guides. And next month, of course, it will be something different, but please keep tuned in for the rest of this month. And if you like what you hear from us, like what you see from us, from either my readings, Reverend Lisa's readings, 9 o'clock in the morning, our service on Sunday, our classes you take, please pass it on to other people. And if you don't already, please consider making a donation to us. We would like to continue to pass this message out to improve people's lives, because that's what we're here for. Our whole purpose in life is to help improve people's lives, including our own. So with that, I'm going to sign off, and I said once again, thank you very much for watching.